I've learned that there are moments in life that no amount of money can protect you from. You can buy houses in the clouds, fleets of cars, and a name that turns heads at every gala. But when grief comes, it walks right past the velvet rope. It doesn't care how much you're worth. That's how I found myself walking the quiet gravel path of Rosewood Cemetery on a gray Thursday morning. It had been 3 years since my son, Michael, passed away. 3 years, and yet my hands still trembled when I placed fresh lilies by his headstone. The granite was cold beneath my fingertips, the gold lettering still sharp and perfect, just as it had been the day it was carved. I spoke to him like I always did, softly so no one would hear, though the only witnesses were the wind and the robins. "Hi, sweetheart. I brought you your favorite flowers. I know you'd tease me for crying, but I can't help it." I brushed a strand of hair from my face and was about to tell him about my week when I heard it. Quiet, muffled sobs. At first I thought it was my imagination. Rosewood isn't the kind of place where strangers cross paths often, especially on a weekday morning. But then I turned my head and saw her. She was sitting on the damp grass a few rows over, a small boy curled into her side. Her uniform was unmistakable: black slacks, white shirt, and the faded burgundy apron of Joe's Diner. I'd been there more times than I could count. It was where Michael and I used to have breakfast every Sunday morning. I remembered her vaguely, the waitress with the warm smile who always brought him extra syrup without asking. Her shoulders shook as she cried, one hand clinging to the boy's small frame, the other covering her mouth like she was trying to hold in the sound. I froze, torn between giving her privacy and this gnawing feeling that I needed to understand why she was here at this graveyard, crying like the world had ended. I glanced at Michael's headstone. "I'll be right back," I whispered, though I knew he couldn't answer. Then I walked toward her. The closer I got, the more I noticed the details. The boy was maybe 6 years old, wearing a worn blue hoodie with a hole in the sleeve. His eyes were red from crying. The woman, his mother, I assumed, looked exhausted, dark circles etched deep beneath her eyes. I stopped a few feet away. "Are you all right?" She flinched at my voice and quickly wiped her eyes, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach them. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you." "You're not disturbing me," I said gently. "Do you know someone here?" Her gaze flicked to a headstone beside her. There was no vase, no flowers, just a simple slab of gray stone with a name I didn't recognize. "Jamal Harris," she said finally. Her voice cracked on the word. "My husband." I felt my chest tighten. "I'm so sorry." She nodded but didn't say anything else. The boy clung to her, his small hand gripping her apron. "Is this your son?" I asked softly. She hesitated before nodding. "Yes. His name's Elijah." Elijah peeked up at me for just a second before burying his face back in her side. Something about the way she held him, the protectiveness, the fragility, made me think of the months after Michael died. I knew that look. I knew that weight. Without thinking, I crouched down so I was eye level with them. "I remember you," I said slowly, "from Joe's Diner. You used to serve my son and me breakfast." Her eyes widened slightly. Yes, I remember. He liked the strawberry pancakes." I smiled faintly. "He did." For a moment, silence settled between us, heavy, but not uncomfortable. Then she whispered, "I'm sorry for your loss." We stayed there like that for a while, two women from different worlds, connected by the kind of pain that levels all differences. But then my eyes caught something that made me pause. On the boy's small hand, glinting faintly in the pale light, was a ring. It was far too large for him, the band loose around his finger. And it wasn't just any ring. I knew that design. I knew it because I had had one just like it made for my son's father, years before. My heart thudded. "That ring. Where did you get it?" The woman stiffened, her eyes narrowing slightly. "It was my husband's." But I knew. I knew in the pit of my stomach that there was more to this story. Her tone was defensive, and I could feel the wall she'd just put up between us. But my eyes stayed on that ring. It was gold, with a deep green emerald in the center, encircled by an intricate pattern of leaves and vines. I had commissioned it myself nearly 15 years ago from a jeweler in Paris. There were only two in existence, one for my late husband and one for his closest friend. David. David. My mind swirled. He had been Michael's godfather, a man I'd lost touch with long ago after messy arguments and misplaced blame in the months following my husband's death. He'd moved away, cut contact, and now here I was, staring at his ring on the hand of this little boy. I swallowed hard. Your husband, Jamal. Where did he get that ring? The waitress, her name still unknown to me, stiffened. It was given to him by a friend, a long time ago. A friend. My heart began to race. Was that friend's name David? Her eyes widened just for a second before she looked away. That was enough. I had my answer. Please, I said, my voice softer now, almost pleading. I'm not trying to intrude. I knew David very well. She glanced at me warily, then sighed. The kind of sigh that carries years of unspoken stories. Yes, David was my husband's father. Jamal never really knew him. He left when Jamal was a baby. But before Jamal passed, he found him, reached out. They met a few times. I felt like the ground beneath me was shifting. And the ring? He gave it to Jamal, she said quietly. Said it was in the family. Jamal wore it until the day he died. Now Elijah wears it sometimes, so he feels close to his dad. Elijah had been listening, his small fingers fiddling with the ring. Daddy said it's magic, he whispered. My throat tightened. It's not magic, but it's special. Very special. The woman looked at me curiously now. Why do you know so much about it? I hesitated, the memories pressing in. Because I designed it for my husband, and one for David. Her eyes softened, but there was something else there too. Confusion, perhaps even fear. Then, you must know more about David than we do. I sat down beside her on the damp grass. I do, and I think I owe you both the truth. So I told her, about my late husband, about David, about the falling out that had fractured everything, about how grief had made us strangers to each other. I told her how I'd lost track of him, not knowing he'd had a son, her husband. By the time I finished, the clouds overhead had thinned, letting pale sunlight spill across the headstones. She was quiet for a long while, absorbing everything. Then she said, "You're the first person who's ever told me anything real about him. David never spoke much. Jamal, he always wished he knew more." The boy looked up at me suddenly. "Do you know where my grandpa is now?" I hesitated. "No. But maybe we can find out?" For the first time, a flicker of hope crossed the waitress's face. And that's when I realized I couldn't just walk away from this. This wasn't just about a ring. It was about connection and the pieces of family that had been scattered by years of silence and pain. I don't know what came over me in that moment, but I heard myself saying, "Why don't we go somewhere warm? We can talk properly." The waitress, she finally told me name was Marissa, hesitated. I could tell she wasn't used to accepting help, especially from strangers, but Elijah was shivering now and the wind had picked up, rattling the leaves like a warning. Within an hour, we were sitting in the back corner of a small cafe a few streets from the cemetery. I ordered hot chocolate for Elijah, coffee for Marissa, and just sat there watching them. I was studying every detail now. His bright, curious eyes, her guarded but tired expression, and that ring, glinting softly under the warm light. "I want to help you find him," I said. "Find who?" Marissa asked, stirring her coffee though she didn't drink it. "David, your father-in-law, Elijah's grandfather. She frowned. Why? What does it matter now? Because you deserve to know, I said firmly, and because my son would have wanted me to. That last part surprised even me, but it was true. My son had been the kind of boy who believed in second chances, who reached out to people even when I thought they didn't deserve it. He would have wanted me to bridge the gap that tragedy had left. Marissa looked down at her cup for a long time before whispering, I don't even know where to start. I do, I told her, and I have resources. Her gaze flickered at mine, weighing my sincerity. Finally, she gave a small nod. It took weeks of searching, calling old contacts, digging through public records, hiring a private investigator. I had business meetings and charity events, but in the background, I was quietly piecing together a puzzle